In this video, we're going to look at compression and archiving. We're first going to look at file compression. We're going to focus on gzip, and we're going to look at the C and D options. Then we're going to look at archiving programs. We're going to look at the T command, and specifically the C, F, and T options. And then we're going to finish with archiving and compressing, where we're going to be looking at the Z command. So I've logged into the CiderMill server, and I'm at a directory that I put inside my playground directory called archiving_compression. And inside of that folder, I have a file named ls_output.txt, and I also have this folder named movies. And inside of movies, we have just a few folders inside of there, just to kind of have some room, okay, or to show that we have some folders inside of folders. All right, so if we take a look at first thing is gzip. And what gzip does is it compresses a file, and it puts it into a .gz format. So, for example, if I go gzip ls output, and I just run that as it is, and we take a look at it, it created the file ls_output.txt.gz. Okay, it did that by default because I didn't specify what I wanted it to be named. Now, this is all fine and good. It works just fine, but what if I want to keep my original file and just make a zipped copy of it, a gzip copy of it? So what I need to do first is I need to unzip that file. Well, that's very easy. It's just gzip, and then we go -d, and then we look for that specific file, which is right here. We do this, ll, and now we're back. Okay, you can see the file's back. Now, what I want to do is I want to actually make a zipped copy of that file. Well, that's actually pretty easy. I just do gzip. I put in the C command. I write the file that I want to use, which is my source file. And then I redirect that to, and I'm going to put it to ls_output.txt.gz. Pretty much what they had before. But here I'm specifically naming what I want it to be. And then if I look at this, sure enough, there's my two files. This is the original, this is the zipped. And you can see it's about 1/5 of the size. Okay, so it did a pretty good job. Alright, so I've got that. Now what I want to do is I want to do gzip movies. I want to zip that entire folder up. All right, go ahead and enter that, and you can see it says movies is a directory, it's ignored. So something to keep in mind with this is gzip will do files, it will not do directories. Now there's other commands that are in the book, but I want to show you kind of the more basic ones. Now we're going to look at archiving. And what archiving allows us to do is to take a folder with many other folders, or combine a bunch of files and folders together and kind of put them into one file. It is not a compressed version, it's just a file. Okay, so if we look at our directory here, we have movies. Now, I'm not going to archive this file or worry about the zip file. I just want to look at movies. So first I write tar, and I'm going to put in the options to create the file, which is going to be C and F, and then I write the file name. So I'm just going to call this movies.tar. And then I need to write what do I want to copy, which of course is going to be movies. And when I run that command right there, and I ll, you can see that now I have the movies tar file, which is basically took all these movies and all the subfolders and put it into this one file. This is now a file. You can see right here, this is a directory, that's movies, and that's a file, which is a tar file. So I pretty much backed it up. Now, another thing that I can do is I can go tar, and I can use the T command, which is tf, and I can do movies.tar, just like that. And when I do that, I get a listing of the movies directory right there. So it didn't open the file up at all. What it basically did is it just showed me, here's what's inside of it. Here's what you've zipped up. Now, if I want to, I could go ahead and try to compress that tar file using gzip. Not really 100% necessary, and sometimes you can have issues with it, but we'll give it a shot. So I can go gzip, and what I'm going to do is again, I want to do the copy, and so I'm going to do movies.tar, and I'm going to put that into movies.tar.gz. And if we, I want to do LL, get a little bit more detail. So there, created it, and you can see it compressed it quite a bit. Now the interesting thing is, even though we have this compressed version here, if I go back up and I go tar, and I do TF, and then I go movies.tar.gz, it also gives me the directory listing of it, which is kind of neat because it's a compressed file. But that's how we can actually archive something and then compress it. Now we're going to look at the zip command. And what the zip command will do is it's basically going to combine all the folders and files together and also compress them. So zip kind of does both. And also zip works pretty well with Windows. If so, for example, if we were going to take it off our Linux machine, put it on Windows machine, it does very well with zip. Anyway, so we're sitting here and we're look at our file, and you can see we have movies here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do zip, and then I'm going to do R for recursive movies. All right, and I'm going to call it movies zip, and I'm going to work it off of movies, just like that. And so when I hit enter, it's going to say adding, it does all that, and then we LL it. Sure enough, there is our movies zip. It made a separate copy of it. Okay, so here's movies, and here's movies zip. Now you may wonder, well, why is movies 51 and movies zip is 904? Well, remember, this is just the one folder. Okay, it doesn't go in all the subfolders, so that's kind of why you see those different numbers. So that's where it basically compressed it and zipped it. You can see that the zipping algorithm is a little bit different. Obviously, this was a lot less, but it's just different algorithms that they use for compressing files. To summarize, we took a look at file compression, specifically using the gzip command, and we saw how we can actually zip a file and make it as a copy of another file using the C option, and we also looked at the D option for uncompressing. We looked at using the tar to archive files and folders, which, remember, archiving does files and folders. Zipping only compresses a file. So two completely different things there. And then, of course, we looked at the C option for creating the archive, the F option to use the archive file, which means we can name it something, and then the T option was able to list the contents of the archive. So we looked at those. And then we also looked at the zip and how zip compresses and archives a folder or a list of files. Okay, so zip can basically do both of them. We also back up to archive, and we looked and we saw how we can create an archive, and then we can use gzip on top of that to compress it as well.